You're about to watch a podcast with myself and Tom Marriott, an SEO genius with over 10 years experience in the SEO industry. Not only does he give us the three main pillars of success in SEO, but he provides so much value in this podcast. Enjoy. Tom, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for sharing your time. I mean, I had a look at your Instagram and I was like, I can see your success. I can see the amazing content and the value you provide for absolutely free. And I see you go by the name SEO Punk. And I was like, I need to get you onto a podcast. So I'm so grateful to have you here. Tell us a bit about yourself and what is your story?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's, I have been in SEO and in digital marketing in general for I think it's sadly coming up to like a decade or 10 years now, which is really depressing. It makes me feel so old. But it's been great. And I've started, the reason, to give context to it, the reason that SEO Punk actually came about, or the idea of SEO Punk came about, was because when I started in my career in digital marketing, way back when, SEO had a weird kind of seedy underworld to it. There was the dark art to it. Okay, there was an element of people would keep secrets of their SEO practices and tactics and keep them in a locked vault and wouldn't tell anybody. So
wow.
And as a consequence of that, there was this kind of weird impression of SEO that it was a kind of seedy dark art or voodoo or something like that. So the idea behind the SEO Punk was to kind of call out some of these people and to talk and be honest and open about what SEO is and what the reality of SEO is. Okay, so that was where the idea kind of came about, and I've always been a massive punk fan in terms of music, so the two kind of came together. Now, in my old age, sadly, I'm kind of a little bit more mellow. I'm a father now. Things like I'm not as and aggressive as I probably once was, which is sad, and I miss that. But that's where the idea of the whole thing came about. And so,
that's amazing.
So therefore the SEO Punk was born.
That's amazing. But I mean, 10 years in the industry, you've seen all the changes happen. I mean, for a professional in SEO, seeing all the key trends shaping, do you see any key trends that you can pinpoint shaping for the future of SEO?
I think SEO was so much black and white. When I started, it was really easy to it was really easy to rank things. It was really easy to make websites get loads of organic traffic. That was more difficult, and that's right and that's correct, because there were tactics that were probably we shouldn't be using, and there were methods and black hat and grey hat methods that we probably shouldn't be utilizing. So it makes sense now in this modern world of SEO, the focus is much more about actual writing valuable content, developing brands and developing an authority around a website, a business or a brand that stems outside of just the website. So I do think we're moving into that space. The problem is that there's, moving into the future, going by my experience, there's things like obviously the developments in AI that we'll really try to battle that and make it difficult for the likes of Google as a search engine to be able to decide and define what authority is, or which brands actually warrant being there in the top spots, or which brands and businesses warrant getting that traffic amongst everything else. Everything's a lot more noisier, everything's a lot more competitive, which is great and that's fine, but I think there's a lot more challenges that have come with some of these technological advancements. And it's an interesting time to be in SEO. And I've always said that the past 24 months, I would say, has been the most volatile, crazy time to be in SEO ever, because quite frankly, the 8 years that preceded that in that industry have been relatively status quo and quiet. Yes, there've been changes. Yes, there've been developments and things like that. And there was Panda and Pigeon and all these different Google algorithm updates. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's these past 24 months that have really shone a light and it's been made clear that things are really hotting up and heating up. And we know why. It's because suddenly now we have competition that's threatening Google for the first time ever. And that's not coming from Bing, that they always thought would be their big, competition. It's not coming from Yahoo, and who knows Yahoo anymore. It's coming from the likes of social media and TikTok. It's coming from the likes of OpenAI with their generative search platform. So I think now suddenly things are really getting interesting. And I think what my next 5 years in this industry will be is telling everybody as the SEO punk, look, this is not SEO as you've probably known it for the past 10 years. This is now SEO in this world that's completely different. Forget, when you think SEO, you think Google. Forget that now. When you think SEO now, I want you to think of generative AI and generative AI types of search engines, or social media, and the fact that TikTok, lots of people are searching on TikTok now, and that's the big change that's happening in the world. We're collecting our sources of information as human beings, as people. We're collecting our sources of information from much more than just Google, and that's a good thing. But for the SEO industry, it's going to be a big change and a big pivot for everybody to be able to refocus their minds in such a way.
And coming from someone that's fairly new in SEO, I mean, not many people knew SEO, like you said, and now it's, like you said, so much noise. Everybody knows what SEO is, but it's becoming so fast paced. I mean, how would you say now in today's world is the most effective strategy for optimizing your content?
Take it. So you're so right, because everybody knows what they believe that SEO is, okay? And actually, now that everybody's getting to know that, suddenly, as I've mentioned, the goalposts have changed. So I actually believe that now, if you want to build an SEO practice or strategy that's actually going to be effective in 2024/2025 as we're moving into it, it's going to be about building a brand, building authority. You and I are both content creators, and I don't do that. Well, I do that because I generate traffic and visibility on social media platforms, but I also do it because it generates authority for me outside of just me optimizing a website, for me to be visible on search engines, because all of these things are interconnected. And that is what I really do think makes an actual effective strategy. And it's harsh, because when I'm talking, so I talk to a range of different clients. I talk to small and startup businesses, and sometimes they're the most exciting, but equally they're the most challenging and difficult. It's easy for when I'm talking to like enterprise level, FTSE 100 companies, because they've got that authority, they've got that brand, they've got all of these kind of facets that they just need to sort of push into place and things like that. To make things really work for them. When we're talking about small businesses, they're the ones that really suffer, but they're forgetting that they have an opportunity on social media. They don't have to get into Forbes, to get a backlink. They don't have to be in the Daily Mail to get a backlink. What they can do is now start creating content on some of these platforms in order to start generating authority. Being on podcasts will generate authority and will show Google and other search engines, okay, this person, this SEO punk is an entity. He's connected to Inner4, he's connected to other places, and therefore they, them and they have an authority. That's the strategy now. But that requires people to start changing the way that they think about SEO as they move forward.
Definitely. That is quite crazy. And I mean, you've been there 10 years ago. You've been there today. And like you said as well, I mean, back then, if someone hired you as an SEO expert, they would mostly just worry about Google. But now it is all these search engines, all these different social platforms, as well as Google constantly with updates. If you could give our viewers the 3 most important pillars to SEO success, what would that be?
So the 3 main pillars of SEO that I always sort of say are absolutely crucial for anybody that's building if you're building a new website, if you're a startup, if you're a small business, you're building a website, you need to consider 3 main pillars for SEO. One is technical. You need to make sure that your website is is readable, not just by Google, not just by a search engine, but by a human being. Now, they are two different things, because how Google reads a website and how a human being reads a website are two very different things. So you need to make sure that they are readable by both. And there are tools that are out there that allow you to see if your website's being readable by a website. But also there's the optimization process of technical SEO, okay? Making sure that we have correct canonicalization tags, make sure we have the correct robots.txt file, all those kind of things, okay? Then there's content. Central pillar. I always say content's a central pillar, because without good content, you can't really do a huge amount. It does a huge amount of the heavy lifting. What is good content? Good content is content which provides answers to queries for your customers, your audience, to answer the questions and queries that they might have about your products or your services. Okay, that's what good content. Now, that might be good content that answers the questions in terms of product description on a product page, or that might be something more editorial, which is content surrounding the industry or the vertical that you're in.
Yes.
You sell electric scooters, and you might write a blog article about whether electric scooters are legal on the roads in the UK or in South Africa, etc., etc. That's interesting content that people are going to have questions about before they go and purchase an electric scooter. So it's important content. Then there's the third pillar. The third pillar is the most difficult pillar for most people to get their head around, because it's kind of all wishy-washy, okay? And that's this pillar of sort of authority, or off-site, as I call it, to make it easier. A lot of people would just think of off-site as backlink building, okay? Building links from other places on the web to your website. Why is that important? Well, simply because you can't just rely on your website to be a single entity to tell Google that you as a business exist. It's not going to be enough. Any person can go and build a website on any number of platforms and pretend that they're a business. It doesn't mean that they are one. So you need to develop this authority outside of the website and get people to basically, vouch for you through backlinks, etc.
Yes.
Or, and it doesn't have to be in 2024, 25, it doesn't have to be a direct link nowadays. Google will take mentions or citations. You're not going to get necessarily a link from the BBC website or The Guardian or something like that. It's really, really difficult to do. Yeah. But if you're going to get a mention, and you've got a news article that's been published, as long as it's not that you've murdered someone, but if you're going to get a mention on those articles, then Google's going to read that, and it's going to know to place that within your knowledge graph. It's going to know that it's going to be about you as an entity. So that's important too. They're the three core pillars. Any part of SEO typically will fall under those three pillars. And I'm going to give credit to the person that gave me the three pillars. I didn't make up those three pillars. A friend of mine called Rick Rodriguez, who's an amazing SEO mind, gave me those three pillars about 5 years ago. Ironically, on a podcast that I did with him not that long ago. Well, about like 5 years ago. So full credit to Rick Rodriguez for giving me those three pillars.
That's amazing. It's so interesting how many layers SEO has and how deep it goes. It is crazy. Tom, thank you. That was absolutely amazing. I'm going to finish off with my last question, which is, what are the common misconceptions that businesses have when it comes to SEO?
Oh, crikey, there's so many. So, some of the questions that I get asked on a daily basis, and I get it, because there's, to any small business owner that's listening to this, okay, I'm really, really sorry, because there is so much misinformation that is out there about SEO. So much is unreal by, quasi-SEO experts that are out there that claim that they are SEO experts. And I'm really sorry about that, but it is. And this is slightly, people used to keep their SEO a secret. Now they're very open about it. As a consequence, now there's rubbish out there that we hear about. So there's a question I get asked all the time. How long should my piece of content be to rank well on Google? It doesn't matter, okay? It can be 20,000 words, it could be 200 words. As long as you're answering the question in the most efficient manner, then that piece of content can rank on Google. How long does it take me to rank on Google? Well, it completely depends. It can depend on where you are in your competitive space, where you are in your vertical, how much authority or brand you've already developed beforehand. All of these things, everything has a quantitative. There's a big thing in SEO due to John Mueller doing some stuff. Who's a person at Google who talks a lot about SEO. Okay, and every time he's asked a question about SEO, because he's meant to be our oracle, right? Typically, the answer that comes back is it depends, and that's because. It's because that Google is not the robot that everybody thinks it is. Nothing is necessarily black or white, okay? Everything has its place within its context, okay? And it's important to remember that. There's never any black and white answers, but what is important is we have techniques, we have strategies that typically we know work from experience, and everything that you should be doing in terms of SEO, you should be trialing and testing over a period of time. That period of time has to be extended. You're not going to see SEO happen overnight. You're going to see it happen over a 6-12 month period. And even then, I hate giving out that kind of time frame. It depends on what vertical and what competitive space that you are in at the time. But there are no black and white answers with SEO. It's not like digital advertising, Google Ads, where it can be very black and white, it can be very quantitative, which is nice and comfortable for small business owners to be in. But with SEO, it can be quite grey, because at the end of the day, we're dealing with a black box. That black box is the search. I keep using Google, but I should say it's the search engine. It's the search tool that we are using. It's typically a black box, because if it wasn't a black box, then everybody would know how to rank, and then we'd all manipulate it and be horrible with it. Yeah. So we have to remember that nothing is ever set in stone with SEO. We have tactics, we have techniques. We know if you forget about all the intricacies, the machinery, the cogs that make SEO work, at the end of the day, what Google is looking for is how you as a business, or the person that's providing content on the internet, on the web, is benefiting the audience that it's made for. How are you answering the questions of those audience that they're going, when they're typing in their keyword, how are you answering that question? How are you answering that query? In the best possible way. If you just think about that, at the end of the day, everything that you do should be positive towards SEO, okay?
Yes.
If you've got a slow website and it takes 20 minutes to load, then you're going to annoy people, okay? So therefore, don't expect to be high up on the rankings as a consequence of that. If you are, you've got a series of broken links across your website, that's going to annoy people. So Google's going to penalize you for it. It's not about what the robot wants. It's about what your audience and what the actual people want, the people behind these screens actually want. And at the end of the day, Google's smart enough now in its algorithms, during all of these iterative changes that it's made over the past 10 years in my career, to now deduce what is good and what is bad much, much better. If everybody thinks about that when it comes to SEO, forget about the robot, then you should be successful.
You should be rewarded. I like that. That really opened up my mind. Well, my last, it's not a question, it's more like a statement, just to let the audience know what you got going on currently, in your life.
Well, that's so at the moment, everything is dominated through my agency. So my agency, as you can see, is Innofor. We're an agency based here in the UK. We are a small agency by its very nature. We've only got a small team, but we're really blessed to have some really fantastic customers and clients, including a range of sort of FTSE 100s. But we do work with everybody, as I mentioned, from startups, small businesses, medium, all the way through to enterprise and the top level businesses. In web development and also in digital marketing, and that includes SEO as well. And that really dominates my life at the moment. But I'm still creating content, so if you want to go and check me out as the SEO Punk, you can do. You can find me on Instagram and on TikTok as well. And you can go and see what I'm shying about when it comes to SEO at the moment.
That's amazing. And on top of all of this, you're also a dad.
On top of all of this, I'm a very new dad. Yes, exactly.
Congratulations.
Which is another crazy journey which I'm currently on at the moment. But I'm completely and utterly blessed with the fact that I have an absolutely incredible baby daughter that's in our lives at the moment, that's taking up all of my energy and sleep.
I can imagine. Tom, but congratulations on that. And thank you so much for your time and sharing all this valuable knowledge. I really appreciate it, and good luck with all your future ventures.
Thank you, Bradley. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And thank you so much for having me.